Lessons on 2020, part 2. Okay, so the last session that I had, I told you I was part of a documentary and that I was interviewed, and they provided me 2 excerpts on my thoughts on 2020. I was asked a series of questions, which you'll see the answers to. And I just thought these 2 clips really would sum up everything that I observed in 2020 that I thought was important and critical to your self-protection. And it will also answer a lot of the questions that you guys had. I've had a lot of you reach out to me and ask me about certain aspects of 2020. And these 2 clips, part 1, if you haven't seen part 1, I'd suggest you go see that first. And then part 2 here, I think it handles just about every aspect of 2020 that is relevant to your self-protection. So just like last time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play the clip for you, and then I will, make my closing comment. But before then, please, again, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Please hit the notification button. Make your comments. Your comments are great. And also in sending questions into me, I really appreciate that as well. And sharing it with friends, families, associates, anybody you think needs great self-protection information. Because that's how this channel grows, and this is how I can continue to do great videos. So thank you for that. All right, now let's get into part 2 of my thoughts on 2020. People right now are feeling tons of fear, and a lot of times they're fearful with what they see, and that fear then turns into anger. And that anger sometimes leads to an impulsive reaction. And it's because they've never thought about these subjects before. They've never really looked at it. They've never stair-stepped through the process of how you respond. I think triggered is being overused right now as a term, but it's a very good term when it comes to that. And I never want my folks to be triggered. I want them to be very methodical in how they respond to something like this. And I want them to be able to quickly understand when they can disengage safely. And I just don't think those skill sets are taught very well. I've seen people taught in scenarios, like scenario-based training, where the scenario itself, just by setting up something like, well, I'm at a bar, and this guy does this to me, so this is how I take him out. I mean, stuff like that that literally will lead you down the path to getting incarcerated or getting grievously hurt in a situation where all it required was disengagement. So again, when you seek out instruction and when you're seeking out good information, you want to make sure that you're going with somebody who, yes, can competently teach you how to use your brain and body to protect yourself, but also how to use your brain and body to make sure that you minimize the chance of ever having to use the tool of violence. And I don't think that is emphasized enough. I see people doing things right now, sometimes they get away with it. And that's the worst thing that can happen. When they let their anger get the better of them, they respond to a situation and they get away with that behavior. They then think it's okay, and then they're going to do it the wrong time. I call it sleeping with your head on the railroad track. You continue to put your head on the railroad track, and the train doesn't come that night, so you continue to do it time and time again. Violence is like that. Violence is that train that eventually will come, and it will run you right over. If you don't know how to understand that and recognize that, you're going to be in a world of hurt. Listen, one of the best things people can do, this is whether you seek out any training from me or read any of my materials, just consider this right now. Protect your mind, protect what you're seeing. We are not being given honest information. We are being manipulated by agencies, news agencies. It's not conspiracy theories, it's just pure economics. Outrage sells. And it doesn't matter if it's outrage from the left, outrage from the right. They try to pit people against us. Really what's happening is it's distracting all of us, and we're all caught up in these ridiculous battles where we don't have civil discourse anymore because it doesn't make money. Civil discourse doesn't sell, but civil discourse is what keeps us together as a community and as a country. And if you do nothing else other than just disengage from your favorite social media platforms, your news sources, and you just look for information elsewhere. Fill your mind, take this time to learn this new skill set. Do something positive with it, during this time. Those that do have made some incredible breakthroughs during this time. And listen, I understand people are economically strapped right now. People are really concerned. I'm not being unrealistic. Fear is there and justified. The problem is, don't let fear own you. Don't be manipulated by this. Because the people that are giving you this information, they haven't lost their jobs. They haven't had to suffer the way a lot of you have. They're not sitting around hoping there's going to be a stimulus check coming your way. And they're not worried about their kids going to school. It's really at the haves and the have-nots. And I don't necessarily mean economically, meaning if you're a small business person, if you're just a regular person trying to have a great life with your family, if you're a middle-class person, you're not being taken care of right now, and certainly, all my friends in the lower economic strata, it's even worse for them right now, and what they're hoping is that we're going to continue to go at each other. And when you train your mind properly and you really understand what you need to respond to and what you don't need to respond to, it takes a big step towards minimizing that. But doing nothing else, if you want one of probably the best self-defense techniques you could do right now, is don't fill your brain with all of these talking heads that just want to continue to get their advertising dollars, continue to make money, and continue to get their clicks. It's not worth your brain. It's not worth your emotions to let them trigger you this way. It's already bad enough what we're dealing with right now. We don't need to add to it by continuing to fill our heads with, sources that aren't there having our best interest at stake. People ask me all the time, they go, well, what is it about this time? Why do you think people should, under these conditions, have the training that you're talking about? Is it because you think everybody needs to be able to physically defend themselves? No, I think we need to be able to defend ourselves against, falling into our lowest level, to constantly just go to the worst parts of humanity and live there. When you truly understand how to respond to violence and what a true threat is versus a not true threat, we call it social aggression. There's social aggression, which is a lot of what we're seeing right now, like on the media and everything else. People are being very socially aggressive with us. Versus a true threat, which is asocial violence, which means somebody is coming at you and it is imminent. It is really going to happen. That is a much more rare situation. The other is much more prevalent. If you can control the social aggression, your ability to respond and be triggered, and you know what a true threat is, your life is going to be infinitely more peaceful. The people that understand this, the people that have gone through this type of training and live this, are some of the most peaceful people I know. Highly capable to protect themselves, highly capable to protect their families, but until they need that information, they are determined to have a more peaceful life, and that's what I wish for each and every one of you. So why do you think?
Yep. Why do they need this training?
People need this training. This training is really your bulwark against overreaction. And overreaction in any situation can get you in trouble. If you understand how to protect yourself in a life or death situation, it's much easier to use those same skill sets in things that aren't life or death. That's what a lot of my clients have found. They live a much more peaceful life because they truly understand how to respond to a real threat. Most people don't understand what a real threat is versus a perceived threat. If you first have that path, that's great. If not, you're going to see a lot of what we have going on right now, which is people just being just irrational, responding to the latest outrage, and just running down that road. And then by the time they figure out that they made a horrible mistake by reacting this way, it's too late. Seeing people with no understanding how to react to difficult situations and just letting their emotions run wild and just running down. If you have the framework of understanding, and again, violence is a fantastic framework for you. So listen, I appreciate you sitting through the clip that way. I understand it was kind of rough the way they cut it up. But again, it's raw footage. It's raw footage that they're putting together for this documentary. that they're asking, me various questions. I'm one of the people that they're using in this documentary. But I appreciated getting this because I think it really gave me an opportunity in that kind of a forum to answer questions about, current state of what we're dealing with here. And I think there's some principles we can pull from that that'll just really stick with us for quite some time as far as your own self-protection. So I hope you got some really good, useful knowledge out of that. It's funny. I always, love this one quote from Robert E. Howard, and I'm going to be approximating it. And it is, civilized men are much more able to be discourteous because, for one thing, they know they're not going to get their head lopped off, or their skull crushed. It's one of those things. Again, you understand what I'm saying, meaning that when you're in society right now, if you were going to go operate out in a truly violent area amongst people that are violent, you'd be very careful how you talk to people. You'd be very careful how you were with people. You'd be courteous. Think about that. That's really what you want to do. It's one of your best self-defense techniques is your communication skills and how you come off. So in this day and age, it's really something to think about. So the next time you want to, send that nasty text, or you want to, post on that forum exactly what you're thinking, and you want to, let somebody know exactly what you're thinking, think it out a little bit. Do you really need to say that? Would you say that if you're at that person in front of that person? Would you say that if you knew there might be ramifications to that? It's a great way to live because it keeps you very much alive and also courteous, which I just don't think there's enough of that. All right, enough of my soapbox. Those are my thoughts. This is part 2 of my thoughts on 2020. Hope you enjoyed it.